All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, a financial world where making a profit and helping the planet actually go hand in hand. We're talking about carbon credit markets. So let me ask you something. What if you could actually invest in the air we breathe? I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But believe it or not, that's the core idea we're going to unpack today. Look, we all know climate change is a huge deal. It's forcing us to get creative, to innovate. And right out of that urgency, this new market is popping up. It's a market that literally puts a price tag on pollution, which creates some really powerful financial reasons for companies to, protect the planet. Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work? First things first, let's break it down and map out the territory.
So, the most basic piece of this puzzle is something called a carbon credit. Think of it like a permit to pollute, a pollution allowance. If a company pollutes less than they're allowed, they can sell their extra permits to another company that went over its limit. Simple supply and demand, right?
And this isn't some fly-by-night idea that just popped up yesterday. Their foundation for this was laid way back with the Kyoto Protocol. Then it got a huge boost from the Paris Agreement. And now these markets are becoming a core part of how the world is trying to tackle climate change.
Okay, so this market basically has two main flavors. On one hand, you've got the compliance markets. These are the mandatory ones run by governments. If you're a big company, you have to participate or you get fined. Then, on the other hand, you have the voluntary markets. This is where companies like Microsoft choose to buy credits to hit their own green goals. So one is driven by the law, and the other is all about corporate responsibility. And honestly, what we as consumers demand.
And what's really cool is how global this all is. At the heart of it, these credits aren't just numbers on a screen. They represent real projects. So a company in New York might fund a wind farm in India or a solar project in Kenya to offset its emissions. It's creating this incredible flow of money from all over the world directly into green initiatives. And that global flow of cash, well, that's exactly what's making investors sit up and pay attention. So we've mapped out the basics. Now let's talk about the treasure. What's the big investment opportunity here? Why is everyone getting so excited?
Get ready for this number. $50 billion. That's not me saying that. That's McKinsey. They're projecting the market could be worth that much by 2030. I mean, that is just a massive number, and it screams potential for huge growth. So, what's driving that crazy valuation? Well, it's pretty simple economics, really. You've got more and more countries and big companies promising to go net zero. That means demand for these carbon credits is skyrocketing, but the supply is limited. And what happens then? Prices go up. Just look at the EU's market. It hit a record of over 90 euros a ton back in 2021.
But it's not all about big, abstract numbers. For a lot of people, this is about mixing profit with purpose. There's this great story about a small-scale investor, Jane. She put about $5,000 into a reforestation project. And get this, 2 years later, she'd not only made a 30% return on her money, but she knew her investment helped plant over 1,000 trees. How cool is that?
So, when you boil it down, investors are jumping in for a whole bunch of reasons. Yeah, of course, there's the chance to make some serious money. But it's also a fantastic way to diversify your portfolio, to hedge against climate-related risks, and this is a big one for many, to finally put your money where your mouth is and invest in something you actually believe in.
Okay, but it's not all sunshine and roses. Like any new frontier, there are dangers, there are pitfalls. So to really get the full picture, we have to talk about the risks and the controversies. Let's navigate those now.
And here's the million-dollar question, right? The one you should absolutely be asking. If you buy a carbon credit, are you really making a difference? Is the environmental impact real, or is there a catch?
Well, the catch has a tricky name: additionality. It's a really important concept. Basically, a project only counts if it reduces emissions that wouldn't have been reduced anyway. Let me give an example. If you pay to protect a forest that was never actually going to be cut down, did you really save it? No, right? That's the core problem, and it's a huge hurdle to overcome to avoid, greenwashing. And the hazards don't stop there. The market can be super volatile. Prices can swing wildly if a government changes a policy. The voluntary markets, especially, can be a bit of a Wild West without standardized rules, which opens the door to risk. And then there's the big ethical question. Are we just creating a system where polluters can pay to feel good while they keep on polluting?
So, yeah, there are some very real challenges. But the story isn't over. The market is evolving. Let's look at the path forward and how things are changing to make this whole system more trustworthy and ultimately more effective.
And you know what? Despite all those hurdles, the future is actually looking pretty bright. We're starting to see much stronger regulations, and some really groundbreaking tech is showing up to tackle these exact problems head-on.
Technology is a huge piece of this puzzle. It's making everything way more transparent. You've got companies like Pachama using AI and satellites to literally watch forests from space to make sure they're being protected. And then there's blockchain. Stuff like the Toucan protocol is creating unhackable, tamper-proof records for every trade. This kind of tech is an absolute game changer for building trust in the market.
And the demand, it's not slowing down one bit. One major task force projects that demand for voluntary credits alone could grow by 15 times by 2030. That is just massive momentum, and it tells you this market is ready to mature and scale up in a big way.
Okay, so let's say you're listening to this and thinking, I'm interested. What do you do? Here's a quick guide to get you started. Step 1, do your homework. Really understand the fundamentals we've talked about. Step 2, figure out how you want to invest. You can do it through ETFs, special funds, or even directly. Step 3, and this is super important, prioritize quality. Look for credits that are certified by trusted names like Gold Standard or Vera. And finally, Step 4, stay plugged in. Keep an eye on the market and what's happening with policy.
Wow, okay. We've covered a ton of ground today, haven't we? From how it all works to the huge opportunities, and of course, the very real risks. This journey into the green frontier, it's really just getting started. It has the power to steer billions of dollars toward fixing our climate. So, I'll leave you with this question. Are you ready to invest in a greener tomorrow? Thanks so much for tuning in.